Okay, today's June 28, 2026. I'm going to talk about where we are really at with CUSMA, what you should know about CUSMA from both sides of the border. That's United States-Canada trade relations, because nobody's giving you the goods. I'm just going to give you the goods in a different way. Now, Alberta separatists, Daniel Smith, Quebec separatists, they're really out to lunch, especially Alberta, because they've got this tie with the United States, and the United States apparently has created a $500 million slush fund in order to manipulate the Alberta separatists to separate from Canada. And I know Danielle Smith, in question period, will sit in her chair, close her eyes, mumble to herself, and just say how mad she is in her mind over and over again because Peter Guthrie puts her on the spot, just saying it as it is. So let's start off with day 4 to day 1 in events. So we're going backwards. We're going from furthest to most current. I am the most current. Can you imagine that? I am. Let's drop the I and just be M. Hey, power of unity is much more than the individual parts, and that's what you people need to understand. Okay, so PM Carney addresses trade talks for Trump.
Hi there, and welcome to Power Play. I'm Vashi Capellos in Ottawa on this Thursday. Tonight, Carney on CUSMA.
We didn't discuss CUSMA. A breakthrough, if you will, on this will be at that level.
Mr. Carney has a long telephone conversation with the president and doesn't even bring it up. What could be a greater priority to this country?
So there you go. There's the two differing opinions. And this is why Pierre Poilievre really just needs to resign, get somebody else that really wants to reshape the Conservative Party in a Conservative Party, maybe learn about economics and what's needed to actually make the lives of Canadians better. That would be a good start. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next video. Enough of that with this. Here's another one, day 4.
Hi there, and welcome to Power Play. I'm Vashi Capellos in Ottawa on this Tuesday. Tonight, 1 week out from that July 1st CUSMA deadline, we go one-on-one with U.S. Ambassador Pete Huckstra.
Obviously, we're not anywhere close to announcing any type of a framework or an interim agreement.
In an exclusive interview with CTV News, the ambassador reveals Canada and the U.S. are not anywhere close to a deal to renew CUSMA and says the president and the prime minister need to have a conversation about what happens next. We're going to bring you that conversation in moments and then get analysis from a special panel with extensive expertise in Canada-U.S. relations. Former ambassador to the U.S., Derek Burney, and the lead on the file under former Prime Minister Trudeau, Brian Clow, will both be here. Coming up,
Derek Burney's not. He knows what's going on.
Will also weigh in on the politics of a summer with CUSMA hanging in the balance. Louis Hannon, Dimitri Soudis, Kathleen Monk, and Laura Stone will all be with us just a little bit later on. Let's get right into it. A week from tomorrow is the July 1st deadline for Canada, the U.S., and Mexico to determine what happens with CUSMA, the Continental Free Trade Pact. Will it be renewed, as Canada is pushing for, or will it settle into annual reviews? Or will the president make good on a threat to withdraw from the agreement altogether? In an exclusive interview with CTV News, U.S. Ambassador to Canada Pete Huckstra weighed in on just that. Have a listen. Hi, Ambassador. It's a pleasure to welcome you back to our studio. Thank you very much for making the time.
It's good to be back.
We are not far away from a very significant deadline when it comes to the trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Do you, sir, have a gut feeling as to what will happen on July 1st?
I don't think, obviously, we're not anywhere close to announcing any type of a framework or an interim agreement. I really think it's in the hands now on our side. It's going to be the president. And I'm assuming on the Canadian side, it will be the Prime Minister to determine what the next steps are and directionally where we're headed.
No, this is really where we are at this point in the talks. Like, come on, this is why the administration under Trump is such a farce. You know, normally, you have negotiators that have experience in these kinds of matters and trade and what benefits each and every party from both sides. But none of this under Trump. Trump's got to make the final decision. Then when he makes the final decision, he could change his mind 2 days later. Look at the Iran deal. MOU, you're starting a war, which he says is not a war. You know, you just never get any truth from the guy, number one. Number two, he has no idea of cause and effect, so if somebody dies, he'll just throw him under the bus and say, hey, I didn't know what would happen. But that's the way he's been all his life. So we'll listen to just a bit more from Mr. Hoekstra, but not much.
So you represent the president. The last comments that we heard from him were kind of on the sidelines toward the end of the G7, in which he expressed, I view it as possibly expiring immediately, but he also said later on in the comments that he could end up signing it. Do you have any clarity, or has the president conveyed to you with any clarity what his position at this moment in time on CUSMA is?
We will let the president outline with clarity exactly where he is when he's ready and prepared to make an announcement.
And that's the deal. And this is the problem, because nobody can second guess. They try to do what they think they should do. They get thrown under the bus by Trump. So now they got to leave everything in his hands. So you got a dictator south of the border. Should be obvious by now. Not obvious to everybody? Should be obvious to everybody by now. Been that way, just based on his actions and behaviors. These tariffs are economic warfare against Canada and every other country in the world. You want to talk to the U.S., you got to pay an admission price. Doesn't matter. You might get something, you might not get something. Doesn't matter. They want their lollies up front, except for the only one that has no tariffs is North Korea and Russia. Imagine that, eh? Who would have thunk? Okay, we're going to move to another video. This is day 2. No, this is 4 days also. Canada and U.S. not anywhere close on new CUSMA framework. Is that another? Did I already do this one? This might be a repeat of my other one. Power play for June 23. Doesn't have power play for June 23. I wonder why.
Back to our studio. Thank you very much for making the time.
It's good to be back.
We are not far away from a very significant deadline when it comes.
Yeah, who cares? We're not going to waste our time with him. So let's go to another one. 2 days ago, analysts explained Carney and Poilievre's dueling narratives on CUSMA negotiations.
With me now, political analyst Laurie Turnbull. Nice to see you, Laurie.
Nice to see you too.
Let's talk about that call with Trump. It was Trump who initiated that phone call, according to Prime Minister Mark Carney. Pete Hegseth was also on the call. They were talking about NATO and Iran, as we just mentioned. No talk of CUSMA. And when we heard from opposition leader Pierre Poilievre last hour, a lot of criticism about that, given that that was the #1 priority from Carney when he was elected. What do you make of that?
Sure. I mean, Mr. Poilievre is pushing on the fact that there are lots of people who have had their employment interrupted and their financial futures interrupted because of the situation with the tariffs. And so I think it was sort of on behalf of the people who have lost their jobs. It seemed to me that Pierre Poilievre was saying, Carney should have raised this, and he keeps pushing. This is what he promised to do. He promised to get a deal. He promised to sort this out, and he didn't. And so he linked it to a larger piece about, and he used the words, a collision between the reality and the illusion of Mark Carney. And so he built a lot of his comments in his own press conference about trying to get people to see that Carney really hasn't done the things he's promised, and that he's made his speeches and that he's a very impressive person. But when it comes to what's going on for you, there's a difference. There's a gap between the illusion and the reality, according to Poilievre.
So let me pick up on what you're saying there, because today there were, for people who are just catching up on the day's news, there were dueling press conferences today, if you will, about an hour long each. The first from Prime Minister Mark Carney and then Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Carney laying out essentially what his government has done in this spring term. Poilievre then taking aim at the Carney government. For example, Carney said in his messaging that he secured 20 economic and security partnerships across 5 continents. Pierre Poilievre said he didn't secure a single free trade deal. So whose version of the events do you buy?
Well, I think that this is a dueling press conference situation. This is a dueling narrative situation where it's not like either of them is, going out and trying to lie or something. Is that they're both trying to present a version of events that is going to make them appealing to the voter. And so Prime Minister Carney goes out and talks about diversifying trade. And we need to do this. We need to be in a stronger position. We can't rely on the U.S. so much. And so we need to go around, have these conversations. That doesn't mean it's going to be a free trade agreement. So if Poilievre comes out and says you've got no free trade agreements, I think what he's really trying to push on there is you haven't solved this with the U.S. We used to have free trade. Now we don't. Now we have tariffs. And so it's that competing kind of rhetoric that what's going to stand out in people's minds. Mr. Poilievre wants, before everybody heads off for the summer, he wants to plant that seed of doubt in people's minds.
So really what she's saying is that Poilievre is just saying you can't do a trade deal with the U.S. You're refusing to do a trade deal with the U.S. You're not capable of doing a trade deal with the U.S. That's the inference that I get from this conversation with this Ms. Turnbull. If you get a different one, let me know. And I picked Vasi Capellos and this CTV because it's more inclined towards the conservative narrative.
That Mark Carney's actually done what he said he would do.
Lori Turnbull, political analyst. I hope you get a break for the summer as the House rises as well, Lori.
I will see. I don't know.
Hopefully she gets a break. Well, Ms. Turnbull, we hope you get a break also. I need a break. Everybody needs a break. We all get a free holiday with pay and 2 weeks off with pay. So we can go to some seaside villa while the weather's still nice and just not worry about anything. Bombs dropping in Iran and the Middle East. We haven't even seen the effects of that war, Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is going to hit soon. And when it starts hitting, it's just going to snowball. And then you're going to wonder what the heck. And then you're going to blame your prime minister for creating this inflation problem. Meanwhile, nobody knows how inflation really works. You got a guy like Pierre Poilievre, really doesn't even know how money works. So if you're looking for him to fix your problems in Canada, you're going down a rabbit hole. It's going to just waste more time than we've wasted over the last 20 years. So now we're going to go to Bloomberg Television. And this is just a day ago. And the byline here is, the title is, Why American Farmers Are Nervous About USMCA, United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement. So why American farmers are nervous about USMCA. So let's look at it from the American side. Everybody's telling you the Canadian side. They're not telling you about the American side. So let's look at the American side and see what's going on there with these birds. With these birds? Did I say that? Dang, I did.
Not making things worse. As the U.S., Mexico, and Canada negotiate over continuation of their three-way trade agreement, U.S. farmers look on with apprehension. They've already been hit hard by troubled export markets elsewhere in the world, particularly to China.
Particularly to China? This is a thing. This is a made in America thing, and this is what you got to understand. Geopolitically, why everything is chaos around the world is because it's a made in America thing under this guy, Donald J. Trump. And that's Maga. And Maga owns the Republican Party, so they're the conservatives of the U.S. But ironically enough, it's finally time you started connecting the dots, because conservatives in Canada, IDU.org, Independent Democracy Union, chairman's a guy by the name of Stephen Harper, which is an organization of conservatives around the world, far-right conservatives, have been upsetting the apple cart, ruining the financial situation for all people around the world because of their neoclassical interpretation of economics and applying it to how they govern. They haven't figured out how money really works for a sovereign nation, but we're trying to enlighten them. And can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Let's go back to this video here.
Our farmers are true patriots, because China and others.
Okay, our farmers are true patriots. Brings out the patriot card now. tugging at your heartstrings. And then they create the villain. The villain, they've made China the villain. Actually, China has done a lot of good things in their country. As a matter of fact, standard of quality of life for most Chinese people, far superior to what you see in North America and other places of the world. But I don't digress. That is truthful. Just need to do your research.
Have targeted China, had others, remember this, have targeted our farmers.
In rural Iowa, Stu Swanson has just planted.
So here's the deal, and he leads in, have targeted. But the thing is, they're only responding to the targeting of the United States of America. The United States of America wants to control the world and what's going on around the world. It wants to partition the world up to 3 sectors. One section controlled by the United States, another section controlled by Russia, and another section controlled by China. And the reason why Russia gets this glorious trump card, GDP is less than Canada. It's no more than Canada. They're not going to do anything, not even close to anything Canada can do, but they have nuclear weapons. So Trump thinks you're nuclear. Why the Jews get a nuclear weapon, I don't know. Iran, they want nuclear just to build maybe some hydroelectric energy, nuclear energy to make their quality of life better. You know, people really do not know what's going on. I'm going to tell you something else. Around the world, a lot of the citizens around the world would take anybody in and give them a meal. Treat you better than you get treated in the United States of America. There's a channel called Sabbatical. A guy from New York City, been living around the world, speaks many languages quite well, and just witness what he's actually witnessed in real time from real people instead of these false narratives in order to pit you against other people, and it's done to manipulate you for their benefit, not for your benefit. So let's see what's happening with the American farmer here. This is what's really happening.
His 34th and likely most challenging crop.
Unfortunately, the clock is ticking on us. We're at this point where we need to get a plan going forward or the operation may come to an end. And my farming operation, I would do anything I had to keep it alive. I would go find another job. I would downsize or upsize or whatever I need to do. But the heritage of and the sacrifices that my parents and grandparents made, I don't want to be the generation or the person that fails and lets them down. It's something I think about daily. It's something I think a lot about in the dark of night that keeps me up. We have to find a way going forward, and we've kind of been operating on hope the last few years. That hope is starting to dwindle.
Swanson is a corn, soy, and pig farmer, and on the board of the Iowa Corn Growers Association. We met him a year ago on his farm amid a tough period for the agriculture industry.
A lot of farms, I understand, are actually cash negative. Are you cash positive?
I haven't ran a number to tell you today. Certainly, we know that over the last 3 years, we've seen about a 30% decline in commodity prices. I think over that same time, we've seen the 9 major crops all be underwater, so we are producing at a loss on the 9 major crops.
In the years since, conditions appear only to have gotten worse, even after a $12 billion aid package from the Trump administration.
But here's the other deal. Only $12 billion this time, Donald. Your first term, you had to bail out the farmers to the tune of $28 billion. You wiped out their soy market business. Took them decades to build, but you wiped it out in one term. And you're continuing again and just, you're not giving them much. Only $12 billion this time. Last time it was $28 billion. They still haven't recovered from your first term.
It's been a tough winter and spring. We've lost farmers in our neighborhood and across the state that took their lives because of the struggles they've seen.
Here, this is a guy telling you the truth, his experience. Farmers that have taken their lives because of the hardship placed upon them because the actions of a president of the United States of America because he wants to get his way, and he wants to use tariffs to get his way, and it's ruining people's lives, hardworking American people that are good people. And then this term, now he's just dropping bombs on people. He'll tell you they're no good. They're going to come at you with a nuclear bomb. Meanwhile, that's bullshit, but he's got you convinced, so you buy into that rhetoric, which is unbelievable.
We've seen farmers that weren't able to get financing for the 2026 crop. And so, unfortunately, when we have low returns, at some point, the financing dries up.
If U.S. trade policy overall has been rough on farmers, the one bright spot has been the USMCA.
Did you just hear that? The one bright spot has been USMCA, which us Canadians refer to as CUSMA. So here's the deal. To the American people, like the farmers, the people that are involved, understand how important that deal is. And the fact of the matter is, you got a president of the United States that really doesn't care about how it affects his people, because he does not have any concern of cause and effect. And all he wants is to massage his ego and put money in his pocket and ride off into the sunset. That's all he wants to do. And that's it. Let's listen a bit more.
Which has shifted exports from declining Chinese business to growing business with Canada and Mexico. Since 2023, China has slipped from the top export market for U.S. agriculture to third, with Mexico now top and Canada second.
So here you go. This proves, this is like from 2020 to 2024, how CUSMA, USMCA, United States, Mexico, Free Trade Agreement, has benefited all parties. And it's a real misnomer, and it's a false narrative to think that the Prime Minister of Canada is trying to sabotage the deal. When you see firsthand how the President of the United States is putting his own citizens under undue hardship just to get his own way. He wants a win for himself to make himself feel good at the expense of everybody else, and he does not care who he hurts. That's been his modus operandi throughout all his business life, has not changed, and now because it's people in the United States, conservatives in Canada, especially Alberta, Pierre Poilievre, Doug Ford, Danielle Smith, they're all Magas. Don't kid yourself. That's one tiger that has the same stripe no matter what skin's on it. This is what you have to understand. So I'm going to end it with that. We're going to just do this there and now and just leave it at this with this chart. There's no point in going any further. I made my point. People are trying to tell you, Pierre Poilievre's trying to tell you that Carney is not capable of making a deal. He's very much capable of making a deal. The problem is, you've got a guy that runs the United States that does not want to make a deal unless it makes him look good. He'll even hurt his own people. You just witnessed it. Farmers, longtime farmers, good people, committed suicide because of undue hardship. So you can keep defaulting to this way of pain and suffering because of old belief systems and carrying a tribe and a badge. Oh, I'm a conservative. You're a conservative even though it kills people? That may seem harsh, but this is the reality you just witnessed right now. So you can let go of pain and suffering, make that decision right now. Be kind to yourself. Approach everything with benevolence, harmony, and abundance is a natural order of that path. So love and peace to y'all. Take care. Ciao for now.